Before the First World War, Peter Winchester Rouse, a wealthy industrialist, traveled not in the standard accommodations of his time, but in style, leasing private rail cars from the Pullman Company for his frequent journeys to Winchester, Virginia, and other destinations. The Rouse family belonged to a rarefied circle of American wealth and influence, a circle that included names like Guggenheim, Vanderbilt, and Whitney. For them, travel wasn't merely transit, it was a statement of status and comfort. In 1917, Peter Rouse made a decision that would change the family's legacy on rails. Rather than continue to lease different Pullman cars, he commissioned the construction of his own, an elegant business car named Winchester. Delivered in June of 1918, the Railcar was the very definition of opulence. A kitchen, a dining area, 4 staterooms, a private restroom, and a rear lounge for conversation, reflection, and watching the American countryside pass by. At some point, Rouse renamed the car West Point, but as the tides of industry shifted in the 1920s, so too did Rouse's fortunes. He sold the car to another titan of American society, Harry Payne Whitney, who is married to Gertrude Vanderbilt. The Whitneys renamed the car Adios, a wistful nod to their frequent departures for the Kentucky Derby, where their thoroughbreds often ran and won. Twice, horses owned by the family would take the Derby's top prize. The Whitneys retained the car until the early 1940s, when it was sold to the American Railways Equipment Company. Then, on February 12, 1943, it entered a new chapter when sold to the Western Maryland Railway for $31,820. The private car, once named Winchester, West Point, and Adios, was now simply 204. It became the official business car of the general manager, stripped of its aristocratic titles, but not of its purpose. Executives used it to crisscross the WM system, inspecting track, surveying facilities, and overseeing the operations of a proud and growing regional railroad. In 1949, it underwent its final modernization, the addition of air conditioning, a last breath of modern comfort in the changing world. By 1964, the 204 had reached the end of its operational life. George M. Lelich, Executive Vice President of Operations, was the last to use the car, whereafter it was deemed surplus, sold to a private individual, Royce Johnson, and moved to Deep Creek Lake in Garrett County, Maryland for use as a personal camp. Deep Creek Lake, built in the 1920s as part of a hydroelectric project, had become a haven for recreation by the 1960s. The Johnson family owned property there, and the old railcar became a fixture, a summer retreat, and eventually a permanent home. For nearly 4 decades, 204 served the Johnsons, but time is an unforgiving passenger. In 2002, after the death of Royce Johnson, his wife Constance relocated to Heinemann, Pennsylvania. The car was left behind, abandoned to the elements, prey to vandals, while slowly being reclaimed by the wild. Small animals found shelter where railroad executives once dined, and rust gnawed at its frame. Its grandeur faded, but its story was not yet over. In 2011, a spark of restoration was lit by Charles Amos, a former Western Maryland employee and close friend of George Lelich. His vision brought together George's son, Robert Lelich, and the team at Belt Construction. Alongside the Western Maryland Scenic Railroad, they began to imagine a new future for the historic car. On January 17, 2014, with the generous support from Lelich and others, and thanks to the logistical might of Belt Construction, the 204 was finally brought home to Cumberland.
stop right here, right there. Boy. Right there, right there. That's what we're going to do. There you go, there you go, there you go. Once they roll. Danny! Never mind! Just line that pin up. Right about, right there somewhere, guys? Whoa, whoa, whoa. Come on, come on. That's good, right there. Long up right there, and set it down right there, and that's close enough for up the jack and everything. There you go. All right, guys, I'm going to get him set. He set it down. I'll set it down. Hold up. What you got on it, Am?
Restoration efforts began, starting with the removal of asbestos, but as with many preservation efforts, funds ran dry and the work stopped. The car was again vandalized. Eventually, to protect what remained, 204 was shrink-wrapped, sealed from further decay, but also from progress. Today, it sits in limbo, neither forgotten nor restored, waiting for the resources, vision, and the people to bring it back to life. Its journey from the drawing rooms of America's elite, through the service of a railroad to a lakeside retreat and beyond, tells the story not just of a rail car, but of a changing nation. A story of luxury and labor, of abandonment and memory. A story waiting still for its next chapter.